Can you hear me? Okay. Hello everyone, today we will discuss the topic of collectivization in Kazakhstan, essence and consequence, using the cause and effect analytical approach.
So in this project we're going to find out the causes and the consequences of these questions, like what were the key policies and the mechanism of forced collectivization in Kazakhstan, how did these policies impact the Kazakh population and the traditional nomadic lifestyle.
Forced collectivization in Kazakhstan was a difficult chapter in the country's history, spanning from the late 1920s to the early 1930s. Initiated by Stalin, it transformed the traditional nomadic society into part of the Soviet agrarian system. The essence of collectivization was the forced unification of individual farms into collective farms, and state farms. The main goal of this policy was to increase agricultural production to support the industrialization of the Soviet Union and provide food for the growing urban populations. The mechanics of collectivization included several key stages. First is expropriation, forced seizure of livestock and property from Kazakh families. Second is requisitions, forced deliveries of grain that took away a corresponding portion of the harvest. And the last one is the settlement, the relocation of nomads to permanent settlements which destroyed their external way of life.
The forced collectivization in Kazakhstan between 1931 and 1933 is a significant historical event that profoundly impacted the country's demographic, social, and economic landscape. Understanding this period is crucial for comprehending the broader implications of Soviet policies on Central Asia and the resulting humanitarians.
The reasons for the emergence of collectivization in Kazakhstan were multifaceted and were based on financial, economic, and ideological motives of the Soviet leadership.
Firstly, collectivization was seen as a way to increase agricultural production and improve the food supply of cities. The theory of the Central Committee of the All-Union Communist Party of Bolsheviks dated January 5, 1930, on the pace of collectivization and measures to assist the state in collective farm construction concludes that the collectivization of agriculture is the main means of ensuring rapid growth in the production of agricultural products, especially grain.
The second is political goals. The Soviet leadership sought to eliminate private land ownership and create a socialist state. Collectivization was also used to suppress pockets of resistance and power leaders. According to Stalin's letter on issues of agrarian policy in the USSR, he argued that we must do away with the kulaks as a class, turn them into personal surplus, and then save the outcasts.
Third one, ideological motives. Collectivization was seen as a step towards the creation of socialistic society and the education of a new person, free from private property and capitalist structures. For the evidence in the article Dizziness from Success, Stalin emphasized that it was necessary to break down the old kulak village and build a new socialistic village.
National aspects. In Kazakhstan, collectivization was also seen as promoting the development of region into all-union trade and limiting the nomadic lifestyle of the Kazakhs. In the resolution of the Central Executive Committee and the Council of People's Commissars of the USSR dated November 19, 1929, on measures for collectivization of nomadic and semi-nomadic farms in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, it was noted that forced centralization and collectivization of nomads is the most important stage in the socialist transformation of these peoples.
Let's move on to consequences of forced collectivization in Kazakhstan. The forced collectivization had disastrous consequences for the country. The main ones include massive famine, rural depopulation, the destruction of traditional economies and cultures, and widespread repression. Let's look at these consequences in more detail and provide evidence from primary source.
As a result of collectivization, peasants were forced to hand over their entire harvest to the state, which led to an acute food shortage. In 1932-1933, Kazakhstan experienced a terrible famine that claimed the lives of millions of people. In a letter from the first secretary of the Kazakh Regional Committee of the CPSU, Philip Goloshokin to Joseph Stalin, dated September 20th, 1932, describes the critical food situation and mass mortality. The food situation in Kazakhstan is catastrophic. Mass mortality is observed in a number of regions of northern, western, and southern Kazakhstan.
The population of rural areas. Many peasants, fleeing from hunger and repression, fled to other regions or to neighboring countries. This led to a significant depopulation of Kazakh villages and the destruction of traditional way of life. From the NKVD report for 1933 indicates the mass flight of Kazakhs from rural areas. According to the NKVD, about 1.5 million people fled the republic during the period of collectivization and famine.
The destruction of the traditional economy and culture. Collectivization destroyed the traditional nomadic and the semi-nomadic economy of the Kazakhs, which led to cultural and economic degradation. Many villages were forced to switch to a sedentary lifestyle which contradicted centuries-old traditions. For example, the archival documents of the Council of People's Commissars of the Kazakh SSR speak about the forced resettlement of nomadic tribes to settled collective farms, which caused massive discontent and resistance from the local population.
The force is repression and violence. Any resistance to collectivization was brutally suppressed. According to the archival data of the NKVD, in 1931 and 1933 alone, more than 100,000 people were arrested in Kazakhstan, of which a significant part were shot or sent to the Gulag.
So, let's sum up all we said before. Stalin's forced collectivization in Kazakhstan aimed to integrate the nomadic society into the Soviet agrarian system. This policy led to violent livestock seizures, forced grain requisitions, and sedentarization, causing a catastrophic famine. The Kazakh population reliant on livestock suffered greatly. This tragic period, marked by coercion and a lack of understanding by Soviet authorities, resulted in famine, death, and the dismantling of the nomadic economy. The legacy of this time still impacts Kazakhstan's demographic and socio-economic landscape, reminding us of the human cost of such policies. This presentation preserves the memories of and lessons of this tragic era.